here together, live and ready to thrive. How you doing today, Brad?
Hey, I'm doing great. I was thinking when I was doing the live this morning, I can't believe we're on episode 110. That just seems like a lot more than 100 in my mind for some reason. Like it just seems like a very large amount of episodes.
Yeah, maybe it's because when you're on episode 106, right? Like it's even episode 109, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to episode 109, you're still thinking to yourself, "Oh, it's still single digits after. Like it's just a handful of episodes." But 110 suddenly we're in, double digits beyond. Yeah,
in the triple digits.
It is a weird, crazy world that, man, we've been doing this for quite some time, and
over 2 years.
It makes me really happy that we at the same time haven't had to go back yet and be like, oh, we're going for this slot specifically here. Why don't we go ahead and test the origin again? Like eventually that is going to have to happen. People thought that our show would run out before we ran out of guest slots and things. Mm-hmm. We might literally run out of discs before.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
So. Yeah. And I mean, there's new molds every day. You know how that is. Like we're getting companies reaching out. Hey, we're starting this company. We're doing this mold, so yeah, hopefully that demand or that supply keeps up as the demand is increasing to be on the show. Because we want everybody to be on the show, to be honest.
Yeah. I've got a video dropping a week from today, from a company based out of Georgia who's just like they're just 3D printing. It's not the NSH people. They're 3D printing their own stuff. They have something that sits between like a Zone and a Zone OS. They have something that's a Justice replacement. They have something that is a Polecat replacement, and they have a like Envy alternative.
Interesting.
And so I did a video like reviewing all four of those, and like that's sick. That's awesome that these options continue to grow.
Yeah, it's always going to continue to do that. So also thanks to everybody who supported Robbie's ozone drop. Went really well. Very thankful for all of you that supported Robbie, and we ordered a lot of them. So we wanted to have, and this was talking to Robbie to be candid with everybody, we wanted to make sure you all are so great. You always like buy everything up as soon as we post it. So we wanted to make sure we at least had some Robbie discs available at all times for you while we're reordering Wizards. You know what I mean? So, so I just wanted to take a second to thank everybody for supporting you and your ozone drop and your videos and everything as well. Cause you have a life outside of In the Bag. You're this Robbie C guy that does other stuff. So we appreciate everybody there.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, I think that, and our guest today actually has an ozone in his bag. But I just think it's such a phenomenal disc. And as much as I love Jesse, the Dune struggled to find a slot in my bag. The inner core I use for field work, but when I'm actually on the course, I've got seasoned discs that do a similar thing.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, I really want to support Jesse, but I got to find, I'm not going to inhibit my bag to do something different.
Right.
Or like just to meet a need or something like that. Like, so, the ozone, like I wish I could tell you like, oh, it's forced or something. It's not. It's just literally that amazing of a disc. So really, really grateful for that. Yeah, y'all. I've appreciated Hunter the last 2 months has done that. Like, what's been selling the most on Foundation discs?
Yeah,
and y'all, Wizards were number 2. So we lost out to a Halo Destroyer Bogey Bro drop, guys.
Yep.
Way to go. Yep. Y'all crushed it. So thank you so much for your support. You really are the best.
Absolutely. Well, before we bring our guest in today and talk about, actually, I really love this slot, by the way, that we're talking about today. It's something I realize I don't really have in my bag that I probably need, to be honest. So excited to get into that. But before we get into that, we definitely want to take a second to thank this week's sponsor of In the Bag, Disc Golf Pins. Spice up your disc golf bag with disc golf pins and patches. Disc golf pins are high-quality enamel pins that you can put all over your disc golf gear and apparel. By the way, they have very sick pins. We have some in the retail store. I love some of the, I'm going to call them dad joke-esque things like
Yeah.
Back to the Box, like Back to the Future, like esque pins and things like that. Each pin has a double pin equipped with a butterfly clutch to safely and securely attach your pins to whatever you choose. I want to stop for a second on there. They didn't tell me to say this, but those are incredible. Like, the reason I haven't carried patches on my bag, not patches, pins. I love patches and pins, but and no matter what, it's not even a disc golf bag, backpacks, whatever. I feel like my pins always get lost because, like those little like clampy things that go on there on a typical pin always pop off if there's too much pressure, or they like get bent. So they just kind of fall off of like the actual, I'm going to call it the stabby part of the pin. But these butterfly clutches are very cool. Like, they do not come off. So I think that's a great touch. It just speaks to their quality. You know what I mean? Like, they care about their pins. They care about the people that buy their pins. So I just wanted to really point that out because I think it's great. I mean, have you had experience with those as well?
Dude, so I was going to say, I obviously I'm a Calvin Heiberg fan. If you guys haven't put that together, you clearly don't listen to me, and that's fine. I wouldn't listen to me either. But I love Vinny. I modeled my putt after Vinny. I model a lot of my game after Vinny. And so I have the whole like you can't see putt, and they have pro support pins as well as some like pun pins and the crazy caddy and all that. And they have a Calvin Heiberg one that's hilarious because you can't see his face because the frisbee's blocking it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I put that on my bag. I put that on my Pioneer V1, Brad.
Wow.
V1. Wow. And I use that Pioneer V1 whenever I travel for tournaments or anything like that. Like, that has been my most used Pioneer from the get-go, because every time I travel to y'all, every time I travel to a tournament, it goes in. So that bag is getting thrown everywhere. It's being bounced around the bed of my truck, all that. And that Calvin Heimberg pin has not budged on that bag. I put another enamel pin on my last Pioneer I had. It lasted a month and a half.
Yep.
Because of exactly what you're saying. So I cannot speak to the quality of these enough. This is one that, like, I legitimately, Brad, this is a fun story. I tried to reach out to Disc Golf Pins to get them to sponsor a video for me way back when, because I believe in the product so much. I'm so stoked that this sponsorship now exists. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic company.
Yeah. Nina's great. Nina's one of the owners, and I met her at USDGC last year, and just a great human being, great product. They have all kinds of creative stuff, stickers, patches, shirts. And the new disc golf game that they have, Crazy Caddy and Crazy Caddy Pro. And if you haven't checked out the guys, they did a video with Crazy Caddy Pro. That's really hard for me to say. Crazy Caddy Pro. And hilarious. Love the video. You played that video with him, didn't you, Robbie? You were in that video?
I sure did. That was where tensions got spicy, not with me, but between Connor and the boys. And then tensions were spicy in like the next video after. And then that's where Hunter was like, ever since Robbie came to town, it just so it was a time.
Well, whether you're looking at the Crazy Caddy Pro, their patches or stickers or whatever, really their pins, they have thousands, hundreds of designs to choose from and products. Make sure you pick up a pin, an accessory that matches your personality. Cater your bag and your game to your favorite pro, to you. And you mentioned earlier, Robbie, proceeds from every purchase of the touring player pins go to help them out on tour, which I think is great. Again, something great they're doing behind the scenes. So go to discgolfpins.com to start your collection today. Use code Foundation for 20% off your order. Again, that's code Foundation for 20% off your order at Disc Golf Pins. Thank you, Disc Golf Pins. You all are great. Love working with you all. And, I think the only thing better than talking about disc golf pins is to bring Nathan in. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Welcoming in to In the Bag. Nathan, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing well. We're happy to have you on. I was telling Robbie earlier in the episode that I really love this spot in my bag. It's very ironic because at the very beginning of my game, when I didn't know anything, now I know like a little bit. Like, I like really gravitated away from mid ranges, and it's really actually become a spot in my bag that I really love. So, and Robbie, maybe that's like a common thing as your game develops. Maybe you like mid ranges, or maybe see the point or gravitate toward them a little bit more. But this like slot, I may not even have this slot in my bag now that I threw it and thought through it. So it'll be like we're talking you through this spot, but I'm also talking myself through it. So should be interesting. Hopefully some good insight for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think mid ranges are one of those when you first start, you love them. And then you're like, well, I can just power up on it. Really, what breaks the mid ranges for most people is when they start throwing putters pretty far. They're like, I can throw my putter pretty far, so why would I throw mids? Because I can just jump up to a fairway driver. And it's like there's a beauty to enjoying the mids. But then when you get to the top, like I remember doing a practice round, or not even practice round. I remember being in a real round. Gannon was on the card. I was caddying. I was not playing in a place where Gannon ended up on my card. I'll just go ahead and clarify that, people. But Gannon turned around, looked at the card, and was like, "Have you thrown a mid range today? Have you thrown a mid range today? Have you thrown a mid range today? Perfect. I haven't either." And it was like, oh, because Pro Tour courses are just stretching out to a place where mids are, you're either throwing a driver or you're throwing an approach into the green. That's really it. So fascinating how the game evolves. But speaking of people's games evolving, Nathan, got a couple questions to get to know you, sir. How long have you been playing disc golf?
I've been playing for 2 years. I started in 2022. Weird way how it started was my parents come home. They're like, "Hey, we're interested in this thing called disc golf." I'm like, whatever. I was like, this is going to be boring. It's just chucking a frisbee at a basket. And we stop at our local shop, and unfortunately, they actually just closed down. I'm not for sure why, but I was like, well, that sucks. They've been open for 17 years at this point. Wow. And we stop in. They're like, do you have any deals on like starter sets? He's like, well, we have pre-packaged ones where we could just like do like a 5% discount and get you set up for 3 discs. Like, sounds great. And we get our discs picked out, and they're really some like really friendly beginner discs. Like, okay, awesome. We drive to, we're like, you should do Barbersville, which is close to us. It's a pretty easy course. And okay, well, the next weekend we went to Great Seal State Park in Chillicothe. Don't ever start there. Please don't. No, it's not good. We sucked. We made it 7 holes through. I fell in love with it. My dad fell in love with it. My mom was like, I like it. Maybe not as much as you guys, but I really enjoy it. And so now I play with one of my mom's coworkers all the time, and that's like me and him are like out every single weekend. Or I'm like, hey, I get off at 3. You want to go play today?
That's funny. Okay, so you said a couple like words for me that are important. You said Chillicothe and you said Barbersville. So you from like southwestern Ohio? Or are you from? Where are you from?
Southeastern. So you're really close. I actually live in. I'll give the town because ain't nobody gonna find it. Trust me. It's Patriot, Ohio.
Know exactly where it is.
Oh my gosh!
Amazing. I'm from Athens originally.
I know where Athens is at. So you probably know where Rio Grande is as well.
Hey, I attended Rio Grande University for a few years actually, and my brother graduated from there.
Yep, I'm about 22 minutes away from there. I actually work in Huntington, West Virginia. So,
yep. Nathan, we are a kindred spirit, my friend. I love connecting with those folks. Yeah, so that's cool. Sorry, go ahead, Rob.
You go. I was just going to say that I'm laughing because you caught that it was Barbersville. I heard Farbersville, so I'm over here literally Googling what part of the country is Farbersville in, and there's a Farbersville, France, and I was like,
Nathan's coming to us from France.
He's coming to us from the Olympics. Okay.
The most American French accent you ever heard in your life. That's it.
I was confused.
Yeah, it was definitely different, but no, that's cool. Well, that kind of gives me an idea. I mean, there can't be that many. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of a course in Charleston I played that was really cool and just kind of off the map. But I mean, there's not, at least in my knowledge, there's not a ton of disc golf around like that area, correct?
They've put in a few courses. There's Rotary, which we play a lot. Indian Rock is the same course, which will absolutely eat you for lunch, because if you throw and you pick up a tree, then you're down a mountain, and you're like, this is what I enjoy. I enjoy like rock climbing to get my disc. There's a few other ones around, but there's not a great many.
Mm-hmm. I know it's like a little bit of a haul to go to Athens, but they've put in a couple good courses there. My buddy who lives there that plays, shout out Cody Ridgway. So there's quite a few like courses there that are worth your while. I know it's a little bit of a haul over that way, but you might check that out sometime.
That's about 2 hours. I mean, I hate to say that. It's like, it's not that far away, but I drive 45 minutes one way to work every day. So
it's Ohio. People don't understand that. Like, it's in that area of Ohio, it's like an hour drive to anything minimum, and then 2 hours if you want something good. So, all right, back to the questions. We can talk about Ohio problems all day, but so we now know where you're from. We now know how long you've played. So let's talk. You want to go to distance, Robbie? That's probably where you want to go next.
Yeah. So we put you in a field, Nathan. We said we're going to put a basket X amount of feet away from you. How far do you feel like you can consistently reach that basket on forehand and backhand?
So backhand, I can do 290 to 320, which I know isn't like the best numbers in the world. Forehand is like 130 foot max. I won't even. Okay. I mean, anywhere from 0 to 130 because that's how much my range is. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
I
hear that.
I am team. We need to stop shaming people who are throwing. Like I think legitimately, I think unless you have physical issues with form change, like some proper form change, I believe anyone in the world can throw 400 feet. Like, unless you have physical limitations. So, with that being said, most people don't throw 300 feet. So, like, that just shows you the difference in form ability, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you throw over 300 feet, that 320, Nathan, be proud of it, man, because I play with a lot of people who cannot throw 300 feet. So, like, trust me, you're cooking. And then the forehand, that makes sense. Usable forehands, we're all trying to get them. So, and Brad unlocked on the live today. I don't know if you tuned in to the Instagram, but Brad unlocked something on his forehand today, thanks to our friend Kyle. So,
yeah, we got to talk about that offline, Robbie. That
I have thoughts.
Has messed with me since I've done that. So
yeah, I have thoughts. So we put you on the putting green, Nathan, and we said, all right, you got 10 putts from 15 feet, 10 putts from 25, and 10 putts from 40 feet. How many are you making at each station?
Okay, so to help out with this question, because I knew it was coming, I actually went to my basket up in my yard and threw 15 foot, 9 out of 10. I was like, okay, doing pretty good. 25, fell off the wagon for 6 out of 10.
Okay.
40 foot, I got 1. So,
yeah, I would say those are like 6 from 25 is solid. Like there's nothing to be ashamed there.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people quite often, if you can make all your putts inside of 20 feet and throw 250 feet with accuracy, that is 900 rated golf. Like, for the people that struggle to shoot 900 rated golf, if you can do those two things, it's decision making is the only reason that you're not 900 rated. So game on. Last question, Nathan. What would you say is the biggest strength of your game?
I definitely say be my upshots. They're usually like what kind of guess where everything's wooded around here, mostly like woods golf, going around like sneaking around a tree, just backhand with a approach disc or a putter.
Okay. Using the distortions for those approach shots, or kind of like distortion, NV, bouncing around them?
That one, distortion, NV, kind of just bouncing back and forth.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I also, you have a note on your NV that I am so intrigued by. So really excited to get to that one down the line. But we're talking mid-ranges today, folks. So we're going to start with drivers, work our way down into the conversation. I'll be honest, Nathan, when I looked at your bag, your fairways stressed me out. So
yeah.
I want to spend, honestly, I feel like we're going to spend a lot of time in just the fairways, kind of dissecting and breaking down, like, it's not even, is there overlap?
There's major overlap.
There is overlap. You cannot convince me that there's not overlap here, but excited to see what kind of settles and where the comfort zones are. So talking drivers, I know you mentioned you've kind of expanded since the bag came in. So why don't you just walk us through, starting with your overstable drivers, walk us through shots to your understable drivers.
Okay. I'd say the most overstable driver I have is probably the Vision Time Lapse. I actually got my first ace with this one. So,
oh, nice.
Got it on 6/19/2024 this year. So,
that's awesome.
Barbersville, actually. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have that disc. It, like they say, it is the people's time lapse. I have a Neutron one that is straight beefcake, cannot throw it at all. I could think I could put it on the most Hyzer in the world, and it would probably just still flip to like that way and just dump.
Yeah.
So that one was kind of just getting a feel for it. Stepped up and threw it. Was like, okay, you know what to do with it. Step up, throw it the practice basket, 212 foot out, and just swooped it right into it. I was like, and the one time I'm alone, that's the kicker.
Yeah, of course.
My next two drivers, I have two Fission waves. I have just like the stock stamp, and then got Eagle McMahon's because he's awesome, and why not?
Mm-hmm.
The blue one I think is 146 grams, and started off as like a really just straight. I get a nice S curve out of it, and now it's to the point where I'm throwing it and it never comes back. It just keeps going right.
Mm-hmm.
So stepped up to a little bit higher weight for the pink one, and it gives me the nice S curve I was looking for. So now I'm like, okay, I have a 300 foot turnover backhand, and I just have like a straight. I just want to let it do its thing.
Okay. So where does the Thrasher slot into that? I know you mentioned it might be on its way out.
Yeah. So the Thrasher is kind of up there with the time lapse. I'm really noticing the time lapse. I'm doing the same thing I'm doing with it that I was with the Thrasher. And I've been hard pressed trying not to kick it out of my bag because it was the first disc I hit like 290 foot comfortably with. And I was like, okay, awesome. Can't beat it. And then bought the wave. I was like, oh, this is even better. Bought the time lapse. This is getting even better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I think there's something to be said about a sentimental disc in terms of we remember this disc because it broke certain thresholds. We remember this disc because it achieved some shot that I like. It was my first throw in, whatever it may be. So I don't think there's anything wrong in particular with having that in there. Where I would start to warn you in terms of like, okay, maybe it's time for that Thrasher to come out is a moment where you're between your Thrasher and your time lapse and you decide to go with one and you're immediately like kicking yourself while you're walking down the fairway of, yeah, I probably should have thrown that. Mm-hmm. Like when we start having those conversations with ourselves is where it's time to just pull one, pick whichever one feels the least likely, and you'll learn absence makes the heart grow fonder. Give it like 3 rounds and you'll know pretty fast. Oh, this is not it. I just put a new throwing putter in my bag and I'm not convinced that it is going to be it, but you know what? Not like maybe having it in there will remind me why the one that was in there originally was in there. So, cause we had a bad experience out on the West Coast, me and this other one. So, new boy went in because when it comes to certain discs, I will leave you in a heartbeat. But anywho, let's go to fairway drivers and let's talk fairway drivers. You've got the Insanity as a 9-speed. Would you sort of sort the Insanity up there with your like waves, or are you trying to do the same thing with your waves, just a shorter version with the Insanities? What's the Insanity doing for you?
So where this one's Cosmic Neutron, I don't know. I see very many debates on the internet. It's like, oh, it's more overstable than regular Neutron or other stuff. And with it doesn't really fight back right. It's more of just a straight disc with some nice finish lift on it.
Okay. How far is it going, like noticeably shorter than your waves or similar distance?
It's probably about 30 to 50 foot different, just depending on if I decide to grip lock it or actually throw how I know to.
Okay. Yeah, that totally fair. Okay. So the Terra looks like it's kind of on its own world. How's that Terra comparing to, let's say, the Fission time lapse?
The Terra is just very, I don't want to say very, very beef because, well, its numbers will tell you that it's pretty overstable. It doesn't get used a whole lot. It's mostly for kind of like there's some holes around it, especially at Rotary Park, that it's a Mando hole that you have to get immediately around the tree right of it and then just let it work back left or you're not going to be in a good place. And I feel like the time lapse will just push too far over the hill where this one will kind of just like stall out and die. And I know we're going to talk about mids here in a little bit, but it kind of is very similar to the pyro and what it does.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's fair. I think Brad's talked about it before. I know I've talked about it before. Like, there is, when you find a comfort shot, there's nothing wrong with finding that comfort shot and going, okay, let me get a little bit longer version of that. Okay, let me get a little bit longer version of that. Like, moving up the scale. Like, you can look at my bag, you can look at Brad's bag, and you'll see that is 100% the case. Like, oh, he has a Quake. And then when he steps up a little bit more, he's got a Vulture that does the exact same thing as his Quake. And then when he steps up a little bit, like, that it kind of scales up. You probably even, Brad, have something between the Quake and the Vulture. I'm guessing.
The Vader.
Yeah. Yeah. So moving from the Terra, which functioning in that like Firebird S slot, I think that's really good. We get into the Chaos. We start to dip our toes. We're wading in. The Brave, a newer disc. What's the Brave do for you?
Okay, so about the Brave, it was doing the same thing that I've noticed that both of my Neutron rhythms will do, where they fly pretty much the exact same. I actually pulled it out this morning before I grabbed my disc golf bag. I was like, you know what? Today's the day I'm getting rid of it. I have two other discs that do the exact same shot. I don't need it. And I don't think it'll be missed because I threw it off the one hole that I use it for, and I just really wasn't really happy with it. I stepped up through the Neutron rhythm, and it just crushed it and almost parked the hole. It's like, okay, that's it. Sold me on it. Done with it.
Hey, the clarity spot one. Check, Brad.
Yeah,
we're moving.
Yeah.
It's glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So you've got the Brave. What does the Crave do? Rhymes,
Okay.
Unintentional.
So I actually have two Craves. I have my Cosmic Neutron one, which is, if I really juice it, I can get it to turn over right, make a nice, S curve and then come back left. If I power down on it, it's mostly just a kind of a shorter version of my Insanity.
Okay.
So there's some workability to that one. And then I know you guys had her on earlier in the year as Jennifer Smiley's Crave with her signature stamp.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Shout out Jennifer.
Her at Music City Open, and she's awesome. And speaking of aces, this is also my second ace that I got with her disc. I was my second shot of the day with it, and I got it on the 28th of June. So I had one on the 19th and then one on the 28th. It was like, I cannot ask for this to be better.
Wow.
They come in pairs. They always do. So happy to hear it. Yeah, no, Jennifer's the best. And she's like not too far away from you. Like home base. I know she's West Virginia, like Virginia area. So it's got to be like between, yeah, she can't be too far off of you regionally. So
did not know that. So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, okay. So Craves are filling those slots. So then the water gets a little muddy then with the rhythms, it sounds like.
Yeah, my three rhythms that I have, because I don't have a problem with them. So I don't know if you see the note or not. This is my Precious Child disc on Disc RPM. This is it. It is my first circuit challenge I ever done. My first like players pack I ever got. Played with it during the players pack, and I had probably been playing for about 2 months. Absolutely hated the disc. Thought it was the most overstable thing in the world. Hated it. Took it out of the bag immediately when I got home. I was like, I hate you. I can't throw you. Probably about last year, my buddy brought his out because he'd played the same time, and he's like, you should just bring yours out of retirement. Just, he's like, you're really turning your diamond over. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. It probably won't work. It'll probably be still just as overstable. Take it out, park the first hole I throw it with, and I was like, well, now it has to stay in the bag. And it's probably my primary my primary fairway drivers are my rhythms or my Craves. And usually there's running jokes because I step up to their hole and like, oh, and it's Nathan throwing the rhythm yet again on the first hole. Yeah, that's what we're throwing.
So sorry to interrupt you on your rhythms here, but is there... So I think your rhythms are kind of like my FDs. Like they're a very comfort disc for me. Like I have an FD that I'm just like, if I'm like really just need a reliable like fairway type shot, I'm going to throw every time, even if it's not necessarily like quote unquote the right disc. I know it so well that I can kind of manipulate it how I want. That sounds like your precious child rhythm as well. Um, what is
Yes.
your thought about like why have the crave in there if like you have this rhythm, you already love the rhythm, you have a rhythm that's not quite beaten enough? I mean, is it just not going as far as your crave, or do you find yourself like, oh, do I throw the crave or do I throw this rhythm?
I find myself like debating on which one to throw, and I know there's some overlap there
Mm-hmm.
that I've noticed it. Trust me, it hurts my soul to take either one of those two discs out of my bag. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, the fission rhythm I have probably won't stay in just because I find myself not throwing it like
Mm-hmm.
at all ever. I'm like, okay, there's no real point of just carrying around extra weight when I could just leave it in the car or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have a challenge I'd like to issue you. I would like to talk about your ozone and your diamond also before I issue the challenge. But it is interesting that you said that about your fission rhythm. So you're not to skip over your rhythms just for time's sake, but ozone and diamond. I see the notes you have on them. Ozone, you said it says flippy fairway, awesome S curve, and then the diamond says flippy backhand turnover shots. Tell me tell me the situations you're choosing the ozone over the diamond and vice versa.
Okay, so um, if I really just need something that's just going to just kind of just stretch out there and just like have a lot of turn, a lot of play to it, I'll probably just choose the ozone
Mm-hmm.
because it's definitely it has more turn and more. It turns a lot more and does a lot more stuff than the rhythms or the crave. The the diamond, we have issues a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
It's either it works great or I burn it over and then it's went to a backhand roller that I did not need a roller on that because it usually rolls up the hill, across the road, and over a creek. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, that I think answers my question. But
Yeah.
Robbie, this is kind of where my challenge is. And Nathan, I'm only issuing this challenge to you because I did it to myself. And I like it helped me so much. Because I had kind of this, I don't know what we want to call this. It is a dumpster fire. Maybe that's the kind way to say it. But I think if I'm going to challenge you, your fairways, including your 9 speed, so 7 to 9 speed, I want to challenge you to narrow that down to 5 discs.
okay.
I want you to do like you're very overstable, slightly overstable, more neutral, slightly flippy, very flippy.
Okay.
I want to challenge you to do that. When I started thinking like that, my I guess I think my decision making got a lot better. It did come with like some growing pains because there's a beauty on having like okay, you described the ozone this way, right? There's a beauty on having a disc that will do a lot of different things, but that also relies on the user being proficient doing those things, right? So whereas if I throw the diamond flat, it's going to like keep turning, 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 turning. Now maybe ozone, I have to like give it like a little more hyzer to like it flip up and turn a little bit, or maybe I have to give it a little ante to take the line. You know what I mean? Manipulating the ozone does leave some room for error, but it like once you like get proficient at that, you're gonna have a lot more shot variety and a lot more trust in it than just like the diamond. You said it. Me, I have issues with the diamond. It just like will burn over something. You know what I mean? Like that's a very specific disc now versus like a very like versatile disc. And I think when you're choosing when you like your mental experiment of choosing the 5 molds or the 5 discs, it's forcing you to say like, okay, well, this one's a really neutral one, but it also does these things. So that like really fills that whole gap. This one's like slightly overstable. This really fills all of these shots. You know what I mean? Versus like this disc does exactly this. The diamond does exactly this. You know what I mean? And again, whether that's right or wrong, that's like what I believe in is like, how can I get the most bang for my buck with one disc? And even if you want to carry multiples of that disc, just I carry multiple FDs because like I just don't want to not have one if something happens, right? Or in your rhythm scenario, it's kind of like my FD scenario. I have a slightly flippy fairway that is an FD, and I have a straight to slightly overstable disc that's also an FD. So then you have the subconscious confidence of having that FD feel, and you know what it does and what it feels like. So a little bit of a rant, but I really think doing that experiment on your fairways, and if you like really feel good about that, that's something the theory you can carry down to your mid ranges, up to your drivers, all the way down to your like throwing putters and approach discs.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely do that because I've been noticing because my buddy picked my bag today. He's like, "Your bag is really heavy." It's like, I know. Just
hey, disc.
I swear it's a 20-ounce water bottle, and it's not all the discs that are in it. You know.
Hey, disc golf is fun. You should throw all the discs you want to, but disc golf is more fun. Maybe this is a terrible. I'm going to say it. Disc golf is more fun when you're better at it. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
And when you're not out there like, oh man, what should I throw? Okay, well, I'm going to throw this. And then you throw the wrong shot. And you're like, I should have thrown that other thing. And then you're just getting a bogey when you should have got a birdie. So I will say.
Dude, I tell people quite often when people are like, oh, why'd you start the channel? Truly, one of my biggest motivations is I cannot think of a hobby in the world that people do that they're like, it's more fun to be worse at it. Like it's more enjoyable to do X activity when I'm worse at it. My wife and my best friend, they do the New York Times mini crossword every day. They complete this thing in under 30 seconds every single day. Like, wow. It is disgusting. And they're like, Robbie, you're a smart guy. You should join in. And I say, no, like, because I'm not that smart. You guys are way more intelligent than me. And why do I not want to do that activity? Because I'd be bad at it. So yeah. Like people want to walk into disc golf and be like, I don't care about my rating. I don't care about the score, all that. You know what? It's okay. It's okay if you care about those things. Like we're allowed to want to succeed in this game. You're choosing to spend your time out there, putting in the time to improve, putting in the time to come like work on your bag. It's okay. It's okay. That's my soapbox, Brad.
Yeah.
People should care about rating. And I think that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. And you should care. Building a bag is fun. And here's the thing too, Nathan, which I have them sitting on my shelf behind me. Like I have like a bag that I built that's all bird related discs or stamps just because it's fun, right? So you can build. No one says you can't have multiple bags, especially like if you're like, hey, I play Rotary Park all the time. So today I'm going to play with bag A. Tomorrow I'm going to play with bag B. They're discs that I really like that maybe didn't make bag A my like competitive bag, but let's go play around with bag B and just see if I like anything or, I can experiment a little bit. Disc golf is fun. You should have fun.
Yeah. My last question here would be in terms of like from a logistics standpoint, Nathan, do you think if you went Terra, rhythm, ozone, Terra, rhythm, ozone, 5 discs, do you feel like conceptualizing that bag, do you feel like you would be missing any shots if you had those 5 discs in your bag?
I can see where the ozone would definitely take the shot of the diamond. I can definitely see that. I would rather have the insanity over the fission rhythm just because I want that just kind of the straight disc that will go just a little bit farther than the rhythms.
Yeah. And the nice thing is if the fission rhythm's flippy and you have these because the circuit challenge ones were neutron, right?
Yeah.
And you have these neutron ones, eventually they're going to season in and get to a point where it's like, oh, like that's the hard part about it being a gyro nerd is that the quality is just so much higher than literally everything else that's out there. Like cycling MVP is so difficult. I have had, since I left Team Innova in 2022, I've had the same Eclipse reactor in my bag. In my overstable throwing slot hasn't moved. Like it is still just as overstable today. And that is 2 years later. Like it's seasoned. So, but eventually maybe when like your grandkids arrive and you're still throwing rhythms, you'll be like, hey, that guy in the bag was right. Now it's time to cycle it in. Yeah. Like that's fantastic. Great product, truly a great product. But I think that eventually it could slot itself in there. The other thing that when people come on the show, I think about it this way, Nathan, you're going to get 60 seconds essentially to talk about any disc in your bag. Like we're going to create the opportunity, 60 seconds at least. Some people talk longer about other ones. What in those 60 seconds, if you spend half of it telling me a horror story about a disc, it's probably time for that disc to come out. So if you're telling me like, I love the Diamond and we have a great relationship, but sometimes it rolls up a hill, goes over to the sidewalk, into the pond, all that. It sounds like you and the Diamond need to take a break. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Bag B.
But yeah, maybe you put the Diamond in bag B and you're like, now that there's not pressure because it's in the scoring bag or whatever, and I'm going out here having a blast, you learn that you can throw that thing on a Sky and Hyzer, and that shot is so sick. And then maybe it finds its way back in the bag, like that's a great opportunity. So, yeah, I love that challenge, Brad. I think that's a really good idea. And I love the idea of the Insanity slotting in there for that flippy rhythm. And there's something to be said about how do you feel? You have the time lapse and the waves are all in fission, right? All your drivers are all fission. So do you think on the rhythm, it's just fission plastic isn't gelling with you there? Or do you think it just changes the mold so much that it's causing you to dislike the disc?
I think it's where I'm so used to just the neutron feel of the rhythm. And then I pick up the fission one. I'm just like, this doesn't feel right. And don't get me wrong. Some people absolutely hate the feel of fission plastic. I used to hate the feel of it. And my buddy's like, here, check this out. And like, this was like trash. I hate it. And I pick up a fission wave. And I'm like, this is the best disc ever invented. And I love the feel of it now. I don't know if it's just the mold or just like on their high speed drivers that it feels great. I pick up that fission rhythm. I'm just like, this just feels not normal. And I have too many lost rhythms at Rotary Park. All in the same colorways too. They're all like green with like a red rim, which is like the worst color options you can get is green flight plate with a red rim because you're like, oh, in the winter or like the fall looks like dead leaves. In the summer looks like grass.
Yeah.
But
that is a tough look.
Yeah.
Maybe that's also why you can't season them in if you're losing them.
That's also true.
That doesn't help our process there, Nathan. So yeah, there's an ad spot that we got on other podcasts. I don't know what the name of it is, and hashtag no free ads, but there's another ad spot. You have to go check that out because it should help with that lost disc world. Okay, so let's jump. Do you have any more thoughts you want to share on fairways, or do you want to go ahead and jump over to the putters for a brief moment, and then we'll dive into mids? Because I've really got like 2 questions about putters.
Okay, I think I'm good on the fairways. I'm definitely interested to try the challenge. And don't worry, I'll shoot you guys an email or something. I'll tag you guys in it and be like, you know what? I tried it out. You people are right. You're awesome. Because I have a feeling this is what I've been needing to do with my bag. And it's just like I needed the nice like little, I don't know if you guys watch NCIS, but the nice like little gift slap on the back of the head to be like, this is what you need to do.
Fine. Yeah, well, this is an intervention podcast as well. So sometimes we got to break that out.
Yeah. And you know what? If we're wrong, tag us in that too.
Yep, love that too.
We are here. We love the reunion episodes, but I'm just waiting because I know it's going to happen, Brad. Like we're going to get a reunion episode and be like, yeah, that disc didn't work for me. Yeah, that disc didn't work for me. Like it's going to be the exact opposite of the last one.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. It's science, right? Yeah. Science is wrong sometimes.
Yeah. MVP can't be for everyone. Science is wrong. So, speaking of which, let's talk Envy. You have Envy listed, and one thing I love about Disc RPM is the fact that you can put throw notes in, like the disc notes can be there. So Envy, I don't know if it's actually true. Did you write the wrong word? It has perplexed me from the moment I saw this, and this was weeks ago. Envy, understable throwing putter. Is it actually understable? What have you done to this rebirth Envy?
Why did it make you so angry, and why did you do it? Speaking of NCIS.
So, I knew I was going to get a question about this. I had a feeling. So I did mean understable, because when I throw this thing, it will absolutely just keep turning right and then come back to like this nice like left-hand finish. So it's understable for me. And I've thrown Electron NVs like right out of the box. I had one. I bought one. I think it might even been like a James Conrad NV. I bought it. It was in firm plastic. I threw it, hated it. And look at my buddy, because he had like a very seasoned NV. I'm like, here you go. You can spend 2 years seasoning this one. Have fun with it. Mm-hmm. Because I hate it. He goes to like a local course around here, throws some practice shots, leaves it. Still has my name and number on the back of it. No call. I was like, oh well. And I don't know what I've done to this NV, but it just is very understable for me. I'm not for sure why, but.
So what I will say about the Eagle NV, the Rebirth NV, not as overstable as I thought it was going to be, which is why I love it. For me, I throw a lot of like, my favorite shot to throw with that disc is like big sky like Hyzer shot. Probably when I shouldn't throw it, but it's just fun. But definitely still an NV. Mine's definitely still an NV, even after like being in my bag and out in the heat of like my truck and just abusing it. Basically, it's still an NV. It still has an overstability to it. So what weight? I'm like 174. I don't know. I think someone stamped like that stamp on a different disc. That's what I think happened.
It's probably a proton proxy, and they just were like, it's fine. Just stamp the equal on it. It's fine.
Well, I just think it's like an uplink, like a really like rounded uplink. The way you're describing it sounds like an uplink to me, or a detour. Maybe it's an early detour. That's what it was.
Little proton detour. That'd be sick.
That'd be sick. Yeah, MVP if you're listening.
Yeah, give me Eric. Calling you out, brother. We need him. Okay, so my other question on putters is what I like to call my cheater disc.
Okay, so this is the Elevation Koi. And it is a local term that we have now established for my disc with my buddies that I play with all the time. They're like, if I just have like a lot of trees to shoot through, which what we would call, I'm just in jail and I just need to hopefully get through and then not bounce down the hill. Mm-hmm. I'll take this disc and I'll just kind of toss it up there as far as I can. I've stood through trees and like just kind of like chucked it tomahawk style and just hoping it hits and then bounces and just stops. So it's one of those discs where it doesn't get used a whole lot, but when it does, it's handy. Mm-hmm. And who doesn't like a disc you can walk up and just pull through the bottom of the chains and just like pull through the bottom of the basket and then just freak people out because they've never seen it before?
Mm-hmm. We have a course here that has tons of elevation change. Almost every green is like on a hill of some sort. And it is like there are lots of local folk who have kois that they only bring out for that course. And it's like, oh, you've got a layup and approach? Sick. Koi. So I agree. It does its job really, really well. I was curious if it was like one of those you actually throw the koi a lot or things like that. So I love that. Mids. Okay. We'll talk about mids real fast. What's the difference between your dune and your uplink?
I'm glad you asked because so the problem was that I lost the uplink in a pond at Tays Valley, and ever since I've got it back, again, the running joke is that we have marital issues. We just can't figure it out. Apparently, it either throws really, really awesome, or this is the horror story that, it's like it throws really great. I'm like, I love this disc. And I'll step up to another hole, the same shot, and it just doesn't work. Or it'll go and I have a really good release and it just keeps turning, and it's just gone forever. I'm like, and you never faded back.
So here's the intervention on your uplink. As a uplink, can I say connoisseur? Can I say uplink fanboy?
Yeah. Uplink lover. Right. I mean, we're episode 110, Brad, and you threw it on episode 2.
True. It is still in my bag. Okay. So I can say it. The only other one that has outlasted it is the zone, right? Zone was first. So I'm going to tell you, it's not the uplink, brother. It's you. And this is why. The uplink requires a very specific amount of touch for it to do what you want it to do. If you're having marital issues, you're giving it too much love, man. You're giving it too much love. Back off the power a little bit, and it'll fly just like you want it to. And it's like you cannot give this disc any more than 50% power. You just can't. If you want that like beautiful like flip up turn, you can't give it more than 50%. A guy that's throwing 320 like you are, you can't give it more power. And like what I'm guessing, because this is what happens to me, and I think this is probably common for people playing, is the holes appear to be the same shot, but something in your mind is convincing you have to throw it harder to make it turn versus letting the disc turn. That's like the hardest thing to like, it's the trust of the uplink, and like mine comes in and out, and it's always like I always realize it's me doing it, but I've got to always like just trust the uplink to do uplink things versus trying to make the uplink be an uplink, because it already wants to do that. And the more I try to make it be an uplink, the more it is not one. So I'm guessing between the two holes, like in this particular situation, something made you think, man, I got to really make sure this turns over, or I got to really make sure I give it a little more distance, or I got to really make sure I give it less Hyzer. I think it's probably that, if I had to guess.
That makes 100% sense, because the one hole that I really struggle with it, I juiced it, and it just it flipped up really flat. I was like, oh great, I hit the gap. It did exactly what I wanted to. And then I was like, okay, you can stop turning right. Like it should stop turning right by now. And it just turned right into a big tree, kicked me like 50 foot down the hill. I was like, this disc is not getting along with me, and it's me overpowering it. And
yeah, you just gotta give that disc the right amount of power.
Great. The uplink's incredible, and I agree with everything that's been said above.
It is, and you guys are actually the reason I went and bought one, because I had tried to find one on Foundation forever. It was like sold out. Or we got uplinks in, sold out immediately. I'm like, hey, tournament, man.
Yeah.
I blinked and they're gone. And
it happens.
We had a local tournament, my first like major tournament last year, and I was like, well, I had my buddy come caddy for me. He called me. He's like, hey, you want a caddy? Sure. And we walk over. It's like, yeah, let's go see what they got. And they're like, yeah, let's get uplinks in. I'm like elbowing people, get out of the way. Like, I need to find one of these. I find one, love it. We play a tournament at Taze Valley. I'm like, oh, this is the perfect shot for that. Not thinking that I'm throwing it like up a major hill right next to a pond, and well, instead of it being very understable, it went very overstable into the pond, and come to find out that disc does not float. So
that's true. It does not float.
Yeah.
I think sorry, jumping into the mid ranges again. I think my only question with mid ranges, just to kind of help inform my recommendation at a later date. Although I'm looking on Disc RPM, shout out Disc RPM. If you're not a part of the In the Bag community, what are you doing? It's free. Put your disc in there. It helps you like kind of see your bag, and it helps us see your bag too if you want to be on the show. Anyway, I have Pyro and Pathfinder. Now on the chart, it doesn't look as if there's like, it looks like a pretty normal spacing. You have Uplink to Dune to Pathfinder to Pyro. But if I'm reading your notes, which is a very cool thing about Disc RPM, it looks like your Pathfinder is like super straight. Right, so it's more probably toward that 0, like that just dead straight line. And then your Pyro, Prism Neutron Pyro, says absolute beefcake, release flat and goes overstable very quickly, or really quickly. So it's probably more toward like that 4 marker, right? So you do have actually a gap there, right? We're interpreting that correctly?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
If it helps you out any, well, basically what I wanted the Pyro to be, and I kind of thought that was going to fit the slot, was like a longer distortion, and it just wasn't. And I was like, I tried to MD5, and it still wasn't right. And I was like, But I found the Pyro, and the Pyro works-ish, just not exactly what I was wanting. But it does work, and it does work for a lot of shots. I'm like, I could throw this instead of a Terra or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. I think that helps kind of see what I see what you saw, Robbie, and I see kind of like where this is probably leaning, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So that is that. I mean, we'll jump into it. That's where we were framing it from the standpoint of you want a longer distortion, is what it sounds like we're hunting for. And I think we very easily could have landed on that disc today.
Oh, for sure.
Because when I think of the distortion, I don't think as the distortion as being, it is an overstable putt and approach disc, but I would not put it in the super overstable putt and approach disc category. Like, it's not a zone.
It's like an ESP zone almost. Like,
yeah.
Not as overstable.
Yeah, like a straighter pig. In those worlds. So what did you end up trying today, Brad?
So I tried the Archive from Prodigy. Ironically enough, again, I didn't know what your bag looked like. And then the Magnolia from AGL. So a couple, like, I'm not gonna call it Prodigy fringe, but like, I think these are companies we don't really hit on a lot just because of like the slot. So it was really fun. Like the list that Robbie sent over, I'm like, man, we got to try AGL out on here, and we got to try some Prodigy. It's been a minute since we tried some Prodigy.
Yeah. I didn't even think you were like, I didn't know your bag in advance. And I was like, what does Prodigy have to do with
the distortion?
The distortion. Yeah. I'm just that silly. So here we go. Longer distortion.
Yeah.
We're still in the Prodigy family. What a time. So talk to us about hand feel, the plastic, because the plastic is very different between those two discs.
Yeah. So the Magnolia is in, what do they call is it woodland plastic?
I think so. They're base.
Yeah. They're base plastic. So very grippy. The profile on this is very shallow. I don't know if you can tell on camera here, but I mean, I was throwing forehand. I was throwing one finger forehands because, like, I mean, you can see it's pretty shallow disc. Love that on like an overstable mid range. That's something I always loved about the Bobcat. It was like very flat, very shallow. And then obviously it's much grippier because of the base plastic. So that's always nice to just kind of feel like you have a hold of it. And then we have the Archive, which is definitely deeper, if you can see visually here. Has a little bit of a dome to it. I want to try to get that on camera. Not a ton, but there is a little bit of a dome to it. This is 400 plastic, so a little gummier, little grip. It's still grippy though, but a little gummier, and definitely has a. I don't like this hand feel on like anything else really, other than like overstable mid ranges, but it does have like this like interesting, like bevel that like sits really nicely on my like pointer finger, so it's very comfortable. Even though it's like definitely has some like the tooling on it's very interesting, but it's comfortable. It's just a little different. That's all. So I mean, it's funny. The discs are very like similar-ish in the slot that they're in, but they're very different discs. Like as far as feel is concerned, plastic. So very interesting.
Yeah. So I will warn. I'll give you the context and why I chose the disc that I did as you headed in, Brad, because I thought about something in like the Quake equivalent, right? Finding something there, because for lots of people, if you have the Pathfinder in that more straight slot, then you'd want to jump to the Quake. But I think the Quake is going to sit so close to the Pyro side of things that you wouldn't really notice a difference. And I was looking for something that like you could put, if you needed more Hyzer, you needed more finish, you could just simply adjust your angle on it and achieve different results versus making like the disc does blank thing. So how do these compare to your the Quake in terms of just general stability when you were out there?
Yeah, and this is kind of what I alluded to multiple times now. The Quake is really overstable. I have a Glow Quake, so it's like really overstable. And then I have like my Eclipse Hex, which is still not very overstable for a Hex. It's still like pretty straight, but does have some finish. So I don't really have anything in between. Both of these discs, specifically the Archive, sat like right in between both of them for me. I will say the Magnolia still between, but probably leans more toward the overstable side, toward the Quake a little bit more than the Archive did for me.
Okay. Which I know in the live you were mentioning that was kind of surprising how overstable. Like you didn't, the first couple times you threw it, you did not give it the trust that it needed. So thinking about that, how did these fly like flat backhands, quote, stock shot?
Yeah. Stock shot. Again, the Magnolia was definitely um the Magnolia was definitely more overstable. Like it would carry straight, but it definitely like about halfway through started that like overstable finish. So like it did have some straight flight out of it, but it was definitely overstable. Um the Archive wanted to stay straight longer for sure. I felt like the Archive just went further in general, but it would go straight further, but still had an overstable finish. It just seemed like it happened later in the flight than what happened with the Magnolia, particularly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
And I have like a baby
usable,
Hyzer release. So like that's my flat or my stock shot. So, and I will, I guess, coming off of the Hyzer part, but like just thinking about the input I gave the Magnolia, any like Hyzer input I gave it, either forehand, backhand, it really took the Hyzer input. It's like the Archive almost had like a delayed reaction to it, so it like just wanted to be straight first, and then took the input that I gave it. The Magnolia did seem to take like whatever I gave it initially out of my hand, for whatever that's worth.
And that makes me think about like Nathan. It makes me think about your Envy and that it's going to have like that initial turn out of the gate, like the finish that you're going to get. You know, the finish you're going to get out of that Envy. It's just the flight before it's going to shift a little bit, and it's still obviously reliable enough that it's in the bag. So the Archive doesn't feel like too much of a difference in that. So I would say if people are used to like, I throw the disc and it does this blank, the Archive sounds like it could be a little scary. Would you say, Brad? Like in terms of it has a little bit of squirreliness out the gate to what it's going to do at the end.
I would have initially said yes, but the thing that changed my mind is when I on the live, someone was asking me to throw them both on Annie backhand, and like once I did that with Archive, it didn't scare me anymore, because like even though I gave it Anheuser, it just kind of was a gentle, like, again, it just takes like, it's like there's a filter on the input that I gave it. So I gave it Annie, gave it kind of a bit of Annie, but it didn't roll. It just like took that Annie, was gliding to the right, and then all of a sudden it hit something and it started to fade out on to the left. So yes, initially after I threw it on Annie and flex lines, it didn't like scare me at all. I would say the Magnolia maybe scared me a little bit more, just because it is like it's just overstable. Even on like a flex line, it was going to come back quicker. It did hold the Annie initially when I would like do a flex line, but it's coming back to the left a lot sooner. I feel like I have a less margin for error on the Magnolia.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess my final question would be, and it kind of sounds like where I think I know where you're going with it, but we love multiple shot opportunities out of the same disc. If Nathan's going to do the 5-disc challenge, right? He's got to have those discs have to be flexible. That's the whole reason that you kind of push that. So in terms of flexibility, how did you feel about the flexibility with these 2 discs?
I really just think that the Archive is way more flexible than the Magnolia. I think the Magnolia, again, is like creeping in toward that pyro slot. It's going to give you like a straighter flight for a little bit, but it's going to be just kind of like that overstable backhand, like generic shots that you're going to get with it. Whereas the Archive reminds me so much of my beat-in Eclipse Envy, because it like the stability sneaks up on you. It's still there. You know it's still there. So you like can trust it for some straight line distance, but if you need it to get left, it's going to get left. Or if you need to like throw a little bit of a flex, but you don't need to come back super heavy, you can throw that disc. It's just like a longer version of that. And to our point with the distortion earlier, the distortion is kind of like that. It's still an overstable approach disc, but it's not like Zone OS, or something, or Pig like that, where it's like really overstable, right? I'm sorry, Rhino is what I was thinking. It's more of like it'll push straight and then give you the overstability. And I think the Archive's going to be a mid-range version of that, and I think it's going to give you like a lot of trust in a disc. I would wager, and I would bet that the Archive, based on everything you've said about all your other discs, I wager that the Archive, you're going to fall in love with it like you did your Rhythm. I'll even say that.
Wow. Okay, Nathan, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited to try it because, it's funny to me because like we started talking about this, you're like, oh, this disc fits the slot that I'm looking for. I'm like, I must have spent probably a month looking around for discs. What would be a longer version of this distortion? Never even thought to look at like Prodigy, the thing that I'm already throwing in the shot that I love. Like, no, I can't look there. They won't have anything, but no, they do, and it's the Archive. I just was like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it's one of the perks of Brad doesn't see the bag. I always, if I open the bags and it's like, oh, they're all gyro, okay, then I will almost always include a message of like, hey, I see that you're all gyro. Would you be willing? Are you open to other brands, things like that, before I dive in? So yeah, that's incredible. I'm happy to hear it. Happy to see it. So would you be willing to come back on and let us know if how this thing flies for you?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it. I'll get this out in the mail to you. I can't wait to make sure you tag us on Instagram. Go throw it. Give us your first reaction. We'll might throw it up on YouTube as well. But I'm just like really convinced you're gonna love this disc. So we'll talk to you about it soon, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Here we go.
We did it.
Hey, that's a Prodigy disc, not only like tested, but recommended.
Yeah.
There's got to be
and highly recommended. Highly recommended.
Yeah. We're here making things happen, people.
We need to get Silas to get like a graphic that's just like, boom, like my stamp. Maybe it's just like, it's in the bag, baby, like thing we have here in Riverside that no one else can see, that Hunter memed me one day. Maybe that we'll stamp it on the Archive. That's what we'll do.
Dude.
Yeah, but no, I'm happy. It's cool. Like, it's always fun. Like, also meeting people that are like from the area that I was from, because like the middle of nowhere. So that's pretty ironic. But it's fun seeing people play different type of golf in different areas, and like, I think I get a little spoiled with all of the options I have around here to play disc golf and different types of courses and things like that. But when you really, I think the trap people get in when they play one course all the time, that maybe they only have like kind of one option, is like they start putting, and we've seen this a couple times now, like they have like one disc for that hole on that one course. And I think that's maybe like, I'll say dangerous mindset to get in, because it keeps your bag a little limited, or like give you some confusion if you do go out and play something else.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Brad, I'm going to be honest, you've got my mind racing on this whole this stamp thing for the people out there. Can you imagine that it's either like a rubber stamp that says like ABB approved, or like in the bag certified, whatever it may be, like something along that. And you got that hot stamping machine behind you, or it's just a rubber stamp. And then before y'all ship them out that way, and like the only way to acquire that stamp is you got to come on in the bag. I like get a disc approved to you. Like it would be such a like niche thing to have on your disc.
I like that. Hey, tell us in the comments below. Do you want to see that? Do we do that? Rubber stamp would be easy. In the bag, certified, boom, and then send it out to you. I think that'd be cool. On the underside, doesn't have to be on the top, so you don't ruin your disc, but on the bottom,
and we can make like a shirt about it or something like that. Like we can make a physical product, so the more people have access to it. But like putting that on a disc, like we won't even fight the temptation of like, I'm gonna roll up there and then like put it all over my disc. No, like
nope. I will, Brad, if it was in the bag. Yeah. If it was in the bag and then it goes in my bag, I'll do it there. Yeah. But I will not put it. For sure. Yeah. That's a good idea. I like that idea. We should try that. So let us know in the comments. Does it sound fun? or is it a terrible idea? If it's a terrible idea,
and
that's
what's the
fine too.
phrase? What's the phrase? Is it like in the bag, certified, or it was good? Very similar to, or like if it's good, like we can almost take the if it's good stamp that's on the pigs and zones and make that into like a thing. But
I like that.
Lots of options out there, people. So there are lots of amazing discs out there, though. And one of the places that they can go to get amazing discs is foundationdiscs.com. So, Brad, what's new in the warehouse?
Oh my gosh, it's a big week here in the warehouse. I see Jason even opening up some more discs. Those will be out next week. But big thing, MVP custom stamp grip lock discs. Very cool.
Oh.
So we have, I don't even have one next to me, but we have grip lock stamped Prism Pyros. We have Pixels, which is cool. Detours and Waves, all with the grip lock bar stamp. We've actually never stamped those on anything to this date. So first run of that, that'll be fun. We're actually going to debut that on the live stream through the app. So if you haven't downloaded the app yet, again, it's free. You'll get a push notification when we go live if you have them enabled. And what's cool about it is like as Hunter, Trevor, whomever is talking about a disc, you'll be like, boom, up in the corner of the screen, there's going to be a link or a sale or whatever on it. And we're actually going to launch those live in the app on Friday morning. So sorry, you've already heard this, but this is something we're going to do on a regular basis. And we're going to like launch those a little ahead of schedule before they drop at 5 to those people in the app using it. We did the same thing with the dunes and in the bag pigs or in the bag zones. So that was really fun. We do have a pretty big MVP restock in. It's not all going to be up, but something I am making sure that's up that we haven't had in a while. We have hexes, which I think is great. Not only do we have hexes, we have fission hexes, we have neutron hexes, and we have eclipse hexes. So cover all your bases there. Let's see. Bunch of new Discraft in this week. We've got first run Kratos. We have the new Big Z Kratos. We have several molds in the brand new putter blend that Discraft has put out. So they have a new hard and soft putter blend. We have Lunas in those. We have Fierces in those, and we have Kratos in those as well. Cool thing about those, it is a Luna, but it is not like $20 Luna. They've actually bumped the price down on these. So I think that's great. So if you're like, you're like, man, I need some practice Lunas, but I don't want to spend $20+ per Luna, then this is a good way to do that. And I appreciate Discraft like noticing that too. So that's been a good thing. Anthony Barella Swirl. I'm just like completely blanking. Swirl Focus. That's in. We have Passion restock in both ESP and Z Jawbreaker Flex the Tour Series ones. We have some special edition drives and Crystal Sparkle Z, which are cool if you're a drive fan. First run ESP Swarms are going to be dropping. We have new Elevation Disc Glow Koi, and their new Nimbus is on the site as well. I'm looking behind me. I think that's about it right now. But we have a ton of stuff going up. So just, again, recently restocked is your best friend. We're going to be getting a bunch of stock Discraft and stock MVP up over the next week. And if you have not subscribed to the subscription box, make sure you do that. We're getting ready to start shipping those out probably today or tomorrow for the month. So we're a little ahead of schedule, which is awesome. But yeah, I will spoil the theme. It is America. America's the theme. So a lot of fun discs for that. So also another new stamp that we're debuting in this box that has never been done before. It's actually a remake of an existing, we'll call it even brand, if you will. So that'll be in this box. And then we're already starting to roll on next month's box. It's going to be a banger as well. So now's a good time. Now to the end of the year, we got some heat coming in the subscription boxes. So make sure you check those out.
Come on. Well, y'all are going to find something that's amazing, something that's incredible. And when you find it and you're like, wow, this is actually amazing and incredible. What do you do if it's good?
You keep it in the bag, baby. We'll see you on 111.